What's up, everybody? Big Herc 916, positivity, motivation, never settle for average. You know how I do it over here. Go to bigherc916.com and pick you up some merch or some art or some soap and represent. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and support the channel. You know, I'll keep bringing you guys the heat. And I have a special guest with me here today. I've been trying to bring people in to collaborate with me, and this is a good friend of mine. You might have heard me talking about it before, Brother Wang. We did time together in Sheridan and really made a connection as far as brothers. He helped me a lot when I got out, and we still are friends today, doing big things, going to be billionaires soon. And I want to get him on here because this brother has a lot of very insightful things I think a lot of young men out there will look forward to and can maybe relate to. And just some of the bullshit that you guys hear a lot of different stuff on other prison channels, bragging about prison. I never brag about prison on Fresh Out, and I always try to give you guys sound advice. Some people say I'm a sellout because I'm a black conservative, but I mean, shit. I don't know how conservative you could be when you've been through the dope game, you've been through the adult game, and now, and you rob banks, so they can eat a dick, man. But anyways, um, me and my brother right here, man, we met in Sheridan. I want to say 2002,
Yeah, around there,
around
around 2002.
2002. So yeah, man, introduce yourself, man, and tell the people a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, my name's they call me Brother Wayne. I also go by Young. Yeah, I got out in 2006 and was trying to revamp my life, and I was moving in the right direction, but I still didn't have my mind right. So as I evolved, I actually had to go back and do some more time. And in that little time out there, I the spirit got me together. So I've been walking that road ever since, and it's a bright, lovely road.
And when we met, you were doing time for a bank robbery, correct?
Yep.
So kind of explain a little bit how we met, man, because we used to see each other because we both were, disciplined workout. Matter of fact, we met because we had a goddamn push-up contest and you beat me. Remember,
Yeah.
I had just got there and it was for Ruben was holding the competition on the yard. Remember, it was for push-ups.
Yeah. I think
You
it was
remember?
dips. I think it
No,
was
no, it was. I
dips.
think it was push-ups, bro. Because I hadn't been on any weights, and they had weights there. And I remember they had a concert outdoors, and remember they were giving away sodas and top ramen.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
I want to say it was a push-up contest, bro. And you beat me in the push-ups. I mean, it was like you did like 100 or something, and I did like 100.
Yeah.
I could remember like 100 straight or something like that. But I remember it was on the yard, man, and we kind of after that connected, man. But yeah, talk a little bit about like what it was like in Sheridan while you were there on your journey.
Well, at first I was just get my mind right of what I was gonna do, and I really actually didn't know what I was gonna do. So, uh, Big Herc and me, we had one thing in common, that was working out at that point in time. So the first 3 or 4 years, we just passing. It's like kindred spirits, but we're just hey, what's up, and we're just really like that. And then on my last year there, my last 2 years there, um, Big Herc asked me, so why don't you come work out with me? So I came down to work out with him. He asked me like, well, what's your plan, man? I said, my plan. I said, man, I'm gonna cook $1 million worth of dope. He's like, hey, bro, why don't you come up to the law library? I'm like, okay, okay. So I go up to the law library, and he hands me a book. It might have been Cracking the Code. I took it home. I read it. I read it that night. I had some background with a native friend that had told me about the IMF, the International Monetary Fund. So it really kind of clicked. And by the spirit, I think it really clicked because it was like I understood it. And I came back the next day and just asked her, okay, man, give me another book. So.
Yeah, and for those out there, you're in prison, man. You have a lot, just like on the street, you have a lot of distractions. People get caught up in a lot of the politics, and other inmates there used to trip off of us because we have such a diverse group. it was Brother Wayne. We had a another guy from Belize. We had another brother from Washington. We had a white guy. Remember Josh? We had another white guy, Chris from Oregon. I think there was a few other people too that used to hang out with us. But in prison, there's a lot of politics, a lot of racial things, racial divide, and we were able to overcome that, and it allowed us to learn, and we were able to kind of turn that time into something valuable. And little did we know all that information that we learned, we're able to now utilize that information um in the present. I mean, shit, that was dude, 2002, 20. That was 20 years ago. That
Oh,
was 20. That's crazy, man. That was 20 years ago, bro, that we were up in there. I'm like, fuck, this is almost 2024.
yeah. It's like a shadow of things to come.
Yeah,
Like when you get the hard put in and you don't know exactly what it's going to do until that software starts running.
yeah,
The same in spirituality. When I was woken up in '95, I was just going through it. But I told you that before that I was at a strip club, and I wasn't there really to see the strip club. I was just going through it really because I had lost my son and everything like that, and I was just there playing pool. And two Asian dudes out of the blue, old Asian dudes, came up and they called me over and they gave me a piece of paper. I'm looking at it and it says you're halfway there. I turn around, they're gone, like they disappeared, right? So, I mean, what I was going through, like the phenomena that was out of this world, I knew what it meant, but I knew I was it had just begun. And here's 25 years later, so it all makes sense now.
yeah. You have to endure, and I'm not saying this to be like be yeah, philosophical or anything, but you have to endure some type of, I think, serious challenge in life. When you're handed stuff, things aren't the same. And for us, we weren't dummies, but we could, we put ourselves in a situation which got us locked up, and we did time, and we were around a lot of people who weren't able to see the bigger picture. So, they kind of continued on that path, but we were able to take that time and in a place of darkness find light through this information, whether it's like you said, redemption, cracking the code, reading Black's Law, Bouvier's Law Dictionary, reading the Attorney's Manual, reading Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars, the Harem Key, all these different books. And I remember my biggest thing was like, okay, I'm spending all this time reading these books, and I'm not really networking in there. A lot of people are networking to do more crime. I mean, they're getting connections. We were studying. We were studying, and I'm like, okay, all this information, how will it be able to be applied on the street? And that was like kind of like my question, because time is what you can't get back. You can make more money. And I heard somebody said today that it takes the same amount of time to make $1 million as it does to make $1 billion. So it's all a matter of what you're doing with that time. And I always tell people, man, you got to maximize your time. I mean, you don't have to be pedal to the metal all day long, but when you are studying, make it count. Um, what are some of the things you felt that you studied that helped you become a better spiritual being, and also understand your purpose in life?
Well, that probably take off back from when I was sharing with you that I was going to cook $1 million worth of dope, and I actually started studying, go to the law library 2-3 times a day. I mean, we pretty much was in there all the time unless we were on count. So as I was developing my mind, my brain cells were growing. So what was potentially there was actually being nurtured. So by the end of the 2 years, my mind had changed, and when I got out, I'd actually looked up. I wasn't looking at my son because they had asked me not to do that at that point in time. I'm back with him now, but my sister, I looked up and she was a doctor. I'm like, whoa, So I was like, oh man, that's what all that studying was for. But I could relate this time because I didn't really want to do all that. I wanted to go a
Yeah.
different route. but I could actually tell that my mind had changed, and we seen that in there, from wait to go into the units, we're talking about some high powered, just future now stuff, and everybody else is just talking about like nothing,
Yeah.
and the way people separate like this from that, it really demarcates the mind and consciousness. So
Well, even in
that's
prison, I remember a guy saying, "Eagles fly with eagles, seagulls fly with seagulls." I remember a guy from Washington said that, this pimp dude, and I always remember that because a lot of people, think like, oh, we look alike, man. Those are my people. And I always tell, people like, oh man, you're people over there. And it could be a lot of people with the same complexion. And I'm not saying that I don't have a connection, but if you're to be my people, you got to think and have the same goals as me. You're my people. We were in prison. Me and you sat together every day. We ate breakfast. We ate lunch, dinner. We had our own little section, and what we did. But this whole racial thing, and a lot of times they say, oh, you're people. Those people might not have the same integrity you have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's just like in the scriptures, when they come to Jesus, hey, that's your mother and that's your brother, and he's making a direct distinction, on the parable of that. Hey, my mothers and my brothers are the ones that do the will of my Father, the great I am presence within myself. Those are my brothers, you know. Everybody else is just asleep,
That's right.
It was it's not that you don't like me. I love people,
Yeah.
right? But your frequency matches what's in you because it's
That's
coming
right.
from within you. So everything on the outside is a picture of yourself on the inside. So that's just how I see it. That's how it manifests in my life.
Well, you're exactly right because even on the street, you're gonna vibrate at a certain rate, which you're gonna attract like minds, whether you guys have similar interests as far as hobbies, as far as how your goals in life, where you live at certain communities. And I do a lot of social experimenting where I drive through a lot of different areas and I just look at the surrounding, neighborhoods. And sometimes when I'm in certain parts of LA and I look at the buildings, I look at the people, I look at like just the energy, and then I can drive another 30 minutes and I can go into another neighborhood and see the ocean and see this. And it's crazy, man, just how different the vibe is from one to another. And maybe there might be only, a half hour worth of driving separating the two. But a lot of people, they don't even like, I guess, see that because they're just existing. Most people don't even know that they're in a mental trap, which is tied into the matrix, which is like a program, because that program is so strong, they don't know how to change it. And for myself, I always felt like I was in the wrong program even as a kid. I just didn't know how to put a finger on it, but I knew like something didn't add up, man. It seemed like, I mean, when I used to look at people, I'm like, and I would see like older people and people working hard, and it's like, this ain't for me, man. Do you ever felt like that?
Yeah. So like I was adopted. So I grew up in a town of 10,000 people and it was all white. I mean, I was the only Asian in there. I'm pretty racial in, in that town, right? So I never fit in, but I tried to fit in. But let's see, lost my train of thought real quick.
Oh, you were talking about living in that community.
Yeah, but what was the original question?
Oh, I was saying like, fitting in, I always felt like I was an outsider. Like I don't know. I felt like the program that was around me, what my program, and how you
Uh,
said, you were adopted really, but I felt like I was adopted, but I couldn't have been adopted because my mom was young. But I felt like,
yes.
because I sometimes felt like I think differently, man. I had just a lot of goals, and it felt like, the things I dreamed of, nobody, like people didn't believe it. It couldn't be real.
So back then, it's like I didn't realize what I was doing. But when my parents got a divorce, I thought it was Leave It to Beaver, upper middle class family, everything's good. I mean, I had abuse in my family with me, but as soon as I seen them get the divorce, I said, "Man, they're a lie. That's a lie. The world's a lie." And I did a simple prayer. I didn't even know it was a prayer, and I know how to pray like that every time now. You just ask. right? I said, man, I want, right? And ever since then, whether it's martial arts, whether it's law, whatever I'm doing, it's always the truth because it's the truth within myself. My higher self is bringing that truth to me. So it's I mean, it's like a downloaded program that's already here in the fourth dimension. Because when I learned like it wasn't like you could go to school for this arts that I learned, right?
Yeah.
But when I was learning, it's like it got downloaded. I could pick it up quick. And ever since then, I've tried to show people just basic moves of how to draw that energy, and they're like this with it, and I'm just like, how is that difficult? I just showed it to you. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I know that it's already ready for me in my past, bringing it into my future, which is my eternal now. You know, to be able to receive this information. I feel that's kind of the same way with what we're doing now with the law and everything that we're working in.
No, I mean, I totally get it, man. Because I feel like, I got my first business license when I was 16, and I tried to start a clothing company, and I didn't know what I was doing, but I had a vision. And back then, you look at magazines. I always picture myself one of those debonair guys in GQ driving a Lotus or Rolls Royce or something, or some exotic sports car. And I always had a vision of something that I felt was tangible, but I didn't know how to get there because I didn't have a mentor show me these things of how to create a corporation, or how to go out and use the financial system to establish credit, or how to build a brand, or all these different things. So naturally, through my ambitions, I got caught up in a life of crime. And even in that lifestyle, I never was the guy who was smoking weed or drinking 40s, but I was always trying to somehow figure out how I could parlay that into something legit. And the more we studied in there, man, the more I realized that the path I had taken was actually um, an illusion. It wasn't really the path of truth. And as we read, we both realized that the knowledge we had now was so high, so far above where we've been thinking. We had been limiting ourselves. And I think a lot of times people dumb themselves down to make it feel like they're a part of a group of people or a tribe. And a lot of people are afraid to actually be who they are. And another thing is going, and what you already know is, the more you become in tune with self as the truth, you realize that there's not a lot of people around you. It's like they say it's lonely at the top. No, it's not lonely. You just realize that you're not carrying people. You know what I mean? I mean,
Yeah.
what do you ever feel that vibe? Like, you've been around a lot of successful rich people, but they don't have a lot of people just hanging around them.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's what it's saying comes from rise up. I mean, you're rising up. You're cutting old branches off. They're not producing any fruit, and the ones that are producing fruit, I mean, you're trimming those vines, right? You're disciplining yourself in those gifts. It's going to produce much more fruit in your life. It's imagination creates reality. So,
What would you say would be um the greatest lesson you could tell somebody when they're trying to reprogram themselves? Because you've had to do it, I've had to do it, and I've talked about it a lot. But what would you say to somebody? Because a lot of people going into 2024, they're stuck on old programs. They're repeat, they keep repeating the old habits, thinking they're doing something new, but it's the same old routine. I always tell people to get in situations where you're most uncomfortable, to challenge yourself. What would you tell some of these young people, or people in general, if they're trying to really create change in their life?
well, that you can tell it all day long, right? You can lead a horse water, but you can't make them drink. But yeah, it's emptying your mind of every thought that you ever thought was true, and just refilling it with the truth. Step by step, line by line. It's not a quick path, but the path is fruitful. You know what I mean? So you got to like stop watching the news. Stop doing different things like that. You just got to stop listening to other people and put stuff in your ear that ain't true. You
Yeah,
know. So
yeah.
you got self. But yeah, I mean, it's just reconditioning your mind. I mean, even saying like when it's raining out, like, oh man, it's a terrible day. I'm like, why? What makes it a terrible day?
Yeah.
Not a terrible day for me,
Yeah.
man. That's like sunshine to me. It's
Yeah.
perfect.
Well,
So
even
those
people saying stuff like that, or, oh man, I'm broke. Oh man,
those
I can't afford that. It's like, dude, you're saying that casually, but you're broke. You know?
hey, I had a guy that works with me, right? And I'm trying to nurture his mind or give him options so he can nurture his own mind, but just showing an image, right? He says to me that oh, money's evil. I said, don't ever say that again, or man, it'll fly away from you like like
Yeah.
faster than lightning.
Yeah.
Because money's not evil. I just told man, put a dollar bill in front of you, even though that's not real money. Put gold in front of you, right? It ain't doing nothing. It's just gold. It's atoms. Right? It's that gold that makes it either positive or negative, right? So I mean, it's hard to break that mindset, that stronghold in people when they don't understand even what they're saying. Because I mean, the powers of the tongue, life and death is the power of the tongue. So
Yeah.
people don't even remember what they're saying today. So they're manifesting the reality first thing, like when they wake up in the morning. If you got something that's negative, right? I mean, the whole way to work, man, the stoplight's red, traffic's this way, everything's going, and they're blaming, right? Well, when you start opening up your mind and start freeing yourself and saying everything is perfect and slow down, then everything starts opening up. I mean, you've experienced that parking lot, like I say, hey, it's rush hour traffic, man. The I am presence in me is driving, and it's clear. You know, my pathway is clear. I get exactly where I'm going right on time, and then a parking spot opens up,
Yeah.
or wherever I'm doing.
No,
Or maybe that traffic that slowed you down, it slowed you down enough so you could meet this person over here,
that's right. That's right.
right? I mean, you got to actually, surrender to your basically your flesh, your outside intellectual mind, and start going with intuition. You know,
Yeah.
intuition of yourself.
Yeah. It's that gut feeling. It's it's that vibe where it tells you to turn right instead of left, and just the reconditioning, and almost like, for some people, I would even say, if you want to create change and you think it's so hard because maybe you've been indoctrinated through through the religion, through the church, maybe through your parents, maybe through some coach. Get you a journal and write down, the things that you wish to become. Write those things down, things that you visualize yourself accomplishing, whether it's getting your law degree, whether it's becoming a doctor, whether it's moving into $1 million house. And you got to literally already see it being done. And I remember listening to somebody, and they were saying, you got to like imagine, okay, how big's your living room? How many bedrooms? How many square feet? What's in the backyard? The more clear your vision is, the easier it is for the universe to create that what you vision. So if you just say,
And
oh man, I want to make money, but like how? You know what I mean? You got to have a path.
you got to be specific, and not only do you, I mean, asking you shall receive, but it's a law of compensation. You have to match that frequency you're asking for, as if it's already done,
Yeah.
right? If you're asking to be like prosperous, I mean, you got to walk in prosperity. I mean, walking in prosperity is the first thing how you wake up in the morning. I got a prosperous mind. I'm gonna brush my teeth prosperous. I'm gonna make my bed prosperous. I mean, prosper means to grow.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not like what the church is telling. Oh, prosper this. No, prosperous means you're growing, like spiritually, mentally, physically, financially. Everything you're doing is just growing, right? But you got to walk in that vibration. So if
and
you're
and,
like what you
and you
just said,
gotta you gotta actually, the things you speak into, do you want to speak in existence, you have to be living them. It's like I heard some Judge Joe Brown said yesterday. I was listening to something, and he said, with the black community, so many people, they're begging, oh please Lord, I've been good, Lord bless me, Lord, I've given tidings, Lord, please Lord Jesus help me, Lord, I've been the one Savior, give me. I mean, dude, you're begging, but what are you doing? What are you doing? It's like you're still doing the same shit. You're not really applying yourself. You don't really believe, and you're waiting. What are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? The 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 the,
true.
the, the clouds to
Hey,
open
brother.
up, and you know what I mean?
Hey, true prayer is a command. I mean, that's why you're Thanksgiving beforehand, because you're Thanksgiving because you've already received it,
Yeah,
right? Why would you think something? Why would you thank this God for something that you haven't received? So he says, be thankful,
That's
right?
right.
So I walk in thanksgiving because I am Thanksgiving. So I'm
Yeah.
walking in it, not walking beside it, near it. I'm in it as close as you can get. I'm one with it. So that's how you have to pray. I mean, with what you're talking about the frequency of whatever you're asking for, you have to walk in that which you are asking for, as if you already have it.
That's
And
right.
then our Father's words are past searching out, but the book of life on the screen, which is the Father's garment, pops it up like a marriage show. I mean, just like the gospel, it's a good spell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a good spell. Your mind. You know what I mean? How you're uniting it in consciousness with something that's already created. That's what we call the fourth dimension, right? Because we can't create anything. It's already created. It's just our awareness of that which we assume to be. That's why his name is BB, Yahweh Vaphe, right? BB.
Yeah.
So,
And what
so
about, I've seen this and I've kind of like, there's some people where I still give them their respect, but I pull back because I see that they're like really, they're living, but I call them dead conduits because they're delusional. Oh man, woo, 2023 was a rough year, man. Next year, and they've been saying this shit every year. Oh man, woo, I'm gonna do this year, and I'm gonna do that and do this. And you watch their moves, and in their mind, they're just hell of a person, but in reality, they're not applying anything. And so I just kick back and watch. And if I see somebody and I'm like, dude, this guy's not doing or she's not doing, I'm not going to pass judgment to say, hey, and because it's not for me to correct. But what I'm going to do is just back up because, you and I both know there comes a time you can't pull these people. Some of them are anchors, literally anchors to you. And these anchors, when you're trying to pull them and you're going for the moon and you're trying to reach a stratosphere of success or a certain vibration, you don't realize that these things are entities that are holding you back. And sometimes you got to cut them loose. Sometimes it's a rough cut, and it can mean family members. There's family members I cut off. It can mean, friends. It can mean certain people, certain places. But you have to make commitments. And I think that's the biggest thing holding a lot of people back is they don't know how to make a commitment to say, hey, you know what? I'm not going to entertain this because I'm going in this other direction. And that's one of the biggest things that I feel, creates change is committing to making the actual action to make the change rather than reverting back to our comfort zone.
yeah. I mean, one of the big, I call it a trick bag when I explain to people. One of the biggest trick bags of consciousness is that we look through our eyes versus our eye. So therefore, when we see something, we think it's outside of ourselves. So when that thing that you're complaining about, that's you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So popping up everywhere, infinite spirit is telling you that's within you. That's what the scripture is talking about. It's like, hey, if the light be in you, right, you're full of light. But if you have aught against your brother, how dark is the darkness in you? Because you're not seeing it correctly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah,
People, you got people who are always blaming, and then you got to think, hold on, man, all these people, they're all pieces of shit. Or is it you? You know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, one of the first lessons that I had learned through one of my mentors, he's the owner of the company that I work for, was there was this a girl she was the project manager, right? But I didn't look at her that way. Right? I was just helping out, and I was asked to do a carpet, do the carpet when my partner came with the carpet machine and hold the hose so it didn't bang nothing. I had done like 90% of the house and the houses that I've been doing with this lady, and when he got there, I was holding the hose. She yelled that the vacuum's on. Yeah, I'm like, so I dropped the hose, going in there, and she just started railing off on me. And my old self came in and said, you got me effed up. Man, what you yelling? I'm here now. Yeah, you need to do this. You need that. I said, all that's left is the kitchen. I just did 90% of the whole job, right? So I'm heated. I tell her to just go take a hike and I quit, right? So I got to call Don, and he's in the middle of a meeting, right? So I'm like, and he's like, I'm in a meeting, yeah. I'm like, oh, my bad, right? So I get home and I'm texting all this blame on her, like she's irresponsible, she's this, she's that, boo, 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 right? He texts back and says, and I hear the spirit when it's in this text. He says, "Young, you always have to be right." I'm like, whoa, no, I don't. Right. So as she's phasing out of Max of the company I work for, right, I got to do that test again. So I had talked to her the day before. I said, we're going to rip up the cardboard first, and then we're going to start on the hardware and doing everything like that. And she gets there and she starts doing the hardware and everything like this. I said, I thought you were going to help me do the cardboard. And she looked at me and goes, just because you're the supervisor now doesn't mean I got to do everything you say. I said, you know what? Whatever you're doing is perfect. It's good. And I just started singing and doing my thing. She came up to me like 2 hours later and basically said, hey, I'm sorry, Young. I was having drama at home. I took it out on you. I said, hey, no problem. Let's just get the work done. And just before the end of her journey on that field, I lifted her up. I didn't tear her down. I said, man, you're an amazing worker. You just got a lot of drama. You know what I mean? Do you realize what this man's opportunity that he's given both of us? I mean, we're a great team. I mean, you do work hard, but she couldn't sustain that vibration. You know, I tried to bring her along so we could both do it. But again, she fell off. And then I just took that position. I just actually rose where I was supposed to be. I continued to rise. So, but the whole point, you're not tearing nobody else either. You know, I wasn't competing with her. I learned my lesson not to blame anything on anybody. Everything's perfect. Even what she was doing was perfect because whatever she's doing that looks like drama, it's going to lead her to the success eventually.
Yeah. And what are some of the tools you think people can put into play to better position themselves? You know, I always say that it may be at times seem like what you're doing might not make sense to a degree as far as maybe in the overall objective, but it's perfect in a sense because it's creating change and it's challenging you. A lot of people don't like to be challenged. Like, you know, they don't want to like I paint and sometimes I'll finish something and my wife be like, hey man, that doesn't look right. And I'll be like mad, but she's right. After I look at it, you know, because she's not gonna lie to me. She's gonna be honest with me when she sees something. And she's like, you can't give that to somebody with that, knowing that this, and this. And so she's like, I hope I didn't upset you. And internally, I'm like, okay, I want to be perfect. So I'm not gonna just not make the change. But in some degree, I'm like kind of like mad at myself because why didn't I see it? So it's not that I didn't respect her opinion, but sometimes you got to be humbled in your actions to see the truth and realize like, hey, maybe there is something you could do to improve yourself. So you know, I always say don't ever think that you're too high and mighty to seek knowledge, to take advice, to listen to somebody, because you know, I've seen where there's somebody that you feel like, oh man, that person, blah, 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 blah. And then the next thing you know, that person is, you know, they give you a blessing and you're like, you would never expect it. You're like, damn, I used to talk shit about that dude. He's actually cool, you know? So you got to always look for your blessings sometimes. And a lot of times I've realized it's the most unlikely places, man.
But it talking about is being meek, right? The meek shall inherit the earth. You're the earth, right? The meek is the mind discipline within thyself. But just like what you're saying is your wife comes from within you. That's your reflection of yourself. So like you're actually listening to yourself versus personalizing it and saying, oh, well, this person's on the outside. They don't know what they're talking about. This is just another aspect of yourself that's talking to you through the spirit. So I mean, how you received that was cool because you're like, once you looked at it, you're like, huh, okay. That's the only way I can get better is if I have different opinions of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I would think like for me, what helped was instead of working for somebody or like for the company I work for or the boss I'm working for, I started working for my higher power, right? I started working for God. I mean, the Father I know within myself, right? So to do my best each and every day and not look at the future exactly that over here, but in the now. And then it's always now. So after today's done, I start over. Right? The day of the Lord starts over, right? Yeah. So I'm going to do better. So each and every time when I'm not competing against anybody, I can only really compete against myself to raise myself up and be responsible to myself. And that's what allowed me to stay consistent in creating a pattern And that pattern over time pays off because then you start seeing the fruit of that pattern that you're conditioning yourself to be a habit. And it creates a character, which creates a destiny. You know?
Do you think that your level of accountability too, since you are kind of like a private type of contractor, and what you do is there's nobody else to point the finger at. It's just all on you. I mean, I know for me, accountability and owning up to my actions makes a big difference, where a lot of people, I still hear them blaming their ex-wife, blaming their old girlfriend, blaming their parent, blaming this. I'm like, dude, when are you gonna, what point does you accept responsibility for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think we all go through that. A lot of people are still going through it, but that's one thing I had to go through. It just is take accountability. I mean, my wife had told me that when I got out, because I'm fresh out. I mean, the second time, and that she goes, the issue is you. You know what I mean? Jesus came here to save you. You know what I mean? Not anybody
Yeah,
else. He's you. I got a higher understanding what that means now. I am that I am. There's nobody else.
yeah,
The presence of my awareness, who I am. But it's like you can't change nobody. You can only change yourself. Like Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world.
that's right.
Right?
That's right.
Change change yourself, and the world will change.
And I think too, a lot of people they're so busy looking at social media, comparing other people's lives to what they're doing. And, people vicariously think that they deserve whatever else the other person has, or, there's a sense of entitlement. And those things those things will poison you, man. If you're stuck on what somebody else is doing, if you're stuck on what somebody, how somebody else is living, you're trying to figure out what, their life, it's like, you're missing out on your own life, your own journey. And whether you're doing that because you're caught up in social media, or you're caught up in, drugs, or just, the lifestyle, it comes to a point where sometimes you just need that silence. And for us, I believe that when we sat down behind the walls, and we had a certain amount of time to kind of like look at things slow down. But even now on the streets where I live at now, I'm more in the country, and I'm in the house and it's quiet, and I can kind of like, channel my energy. I can go on these little meditative bike rides, and it kind of centers me and puts me in a perspective. And I think everybody, at some point throughout the day, should do that, to take time to center themselves, which, me and you talked about a lot, but a lot of people don't do that. So by the time they really figure it out, they're so far to one side of the spectrum that it takes a long time for them to come back. And that's when the delusion sets in.
Well, I think with people also is that they got to accept themselves, right? So basically, wherever you start is perfect. I mean, we all start on an even playing field, right? Just because you see somebody that put in the work and they're up here, what I mean, whether it's mental, physical, financial, whatever it is, they put in the work. Man, you got to put in the work, right? So wherever you start, I mean, it's actually pretty amazing because if you're starting down here, there's only one way to go, and that's up,
That's right.
right? But so day by day, and that's the biggest thing I tell people that I try to help out is that you're perfect as you are, man. I'm coming to you as you are. I mean, you're perfect to me. It's just you need to perfect yourself and put in that work.
Yeah. Do you think that a lot of what's allowed you to elevate is because you, um, for the most part, have been a person willing to journey on your own? I know, like, for me, and I think we both had this in common. I was always like, I'm not going to just ride with a bunch of people, because you know what I mean. I'm like a free thinker. So you guys, whatever, that's cool, but I'm not going to let a shot caller dictate to me, what I'm doing. And even on the street, I can't listen to somebody for the sake of, oh, this guy is so and so, but I can realize this person's not a good leader. So, for people out there, I think a lot of people, and we talked about this, for the most part, they're sheep. They just follow. And, neither one of us, to some degree, we might have listened to things, but we're not really followers.
Yeah. I mean, it's going in for me. It's going into my higher self. What's been revealed to me, like when you have a keyboard and you can only see one note. I mean, it looks terrible, right? So that's me growing up when I was a kid, being abused. We had 15 acres, couldn't have friends till I was 12 years old. So I'm talking to the cows. You know, what I mean, I'm alone a lot, right? But I didn't realize what that was doing. I mean, Infinite Spirit was preparing me for a path that I would need to have that type of strength. And even with all the trying to make friends in that town, I mean, they're cool with you when they're at your house, and I was just a given person. Hey, you want that? I mean, because they like it, right? Here, you can have it. I don't care about that, right? But they get around their friends and they start acting a totally different way. Man, that was painful for me when you're a little kid. But when the screen is completely played, then you start playing these notes around that keyboard. You realize that was meant for you. Your higher self made that. You made that. You know, I mean, that experience so you could evolve, right? And that's what you're saying about the sheeple. You know, people led to the slaughter. They're not thinking. They're just going with the status quo and the motion of the ocean, right? Versus adversity or tribulations, counting all this joy now,
Yeah.
because it's made me wake up into the person I am. So they have a maximum law that says the greater the sinner, the greater the saint. You know, I mean, it's the same thing as saying, if you're lukewarm, I'll spew you out my mouth. Because like robbing a bank or wherever you're doing, at least you're doing it 100%. And through that 100%, like that's the dichotomy of us going to prison for bank robbery. And then we learn about money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we had to do that
Yeah.
to learn about the money.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not what it looks like. It looks, you know, people think that's prison, but people are in prison out here in their minds. We were free, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No, you're exactly right. Because you know, that sense of loneliness. I remember, you know, even though, like, you know, I had a stepdad, and I used to spend a lot of time in the room because he used to tell me to go to the room. And so, because he didn't, you know, he'd be out there smoking weed and doing what he's doing. So it kind of put me into like a certain mind state. And mentally, like you said, as a young kid, you don't realize what that does. You build anger, you know, you have a lot of fantasies, you do all these different things. And then as I got older, trying to create my identity, it took me on a journey, which led to who I am today. But, you know, and I tell people, hey man, you know, I did all these things, skateboarding, BMX, art, you know, this and that, and you know, to try to find out where I belong. And when you realize at the whole time you are the truth and you have the capability of creating what it is you want, you no longer fear stuff, man. I mean, not, you know, not fitting in, you know, maybe not having the cool shoes, you know, not being able to do certain things, you know, you feel like you're less than now. But in all actuality, you can have whatever it is you desire. You just got to reprogram your mind. And I think that's the hardest part, is the childhood trauma, you know, bad relationships, is rebuilding. Because it's like sometimes you got to rebuild from, you know, just pull things out of thin air, and to try to you know, create yourself from something you don't know. Like if you don't know who your family is, then you're trying to define yourself, and you're trying to wonder, like, man, where did this behavior come from? You know, why do I act like this? And then you look at your family like, dude, I don't even act like these people. These people, how am I even related? You know what I mean? So it's a lot of times you're trying to figure things out, but this is a part of life. And I think that's the interesting part, because I don't look at it as a bad thing. I look at it as a great thing, because it gives me an opportunity to keep building and to not become complacent.
I mean, it's beauty for ashes. I mean, that's what's good for me. Beauty for ashes. I mean, even your which was your past, what you went through, was like fertilizer. You know what I mean? And you traded that in for beauty. Because now you think on these thoughts, and now you're thinking on these thoughts, those things start happening around you, and then you can look back and like, oh, I know why that happened now. Like what you said when I was saying, you know, being alone or being alone or ever like this. But I mean, I was an angry kid. I was getting beat all the time. You know what I mean? And my family was white, so my sisters got all the attention. Um, so I remember when they got the divorce, I'm out there beating a tree. My mom was probably freaking out because I'm just yelling, "I hate you!" You know what I mean? But like when I went in at 21 for attempted murder, uh, I had a little time. I didn't even look out the windows because I mean I don't know nothing about jail. I just know that I shot somebody, right? So by shooting somebody, I'm probably going for the rest of my life. So I didn't look out the windows, but I had an opportunity. A lady named Kathy Comfort said, "You want to get your GED?" I said, "Sure." So I got my GED. Um, I was looking at the little tiny bookshelf that you have, and there was a book called Siddhartha. Well, like in the I think the ninth grade, we were reading these big old books, a group class, and got my turn. I said, I ain't gonna read that. So the teacher called me after class and said, "Hey, young, how come you don't want to read the book?" I said, "Man, I don't like it." She goes, I thought I got her, but she got me. She goes, looked at the little bookshelf she had. She goes, "Okay, so which book do you want to read?" I said, that one, the smallest one in my mind, that one right there. I had taught myself how to speed read so I could just get stuff out, and I got an A on the tip. I didn't know what that book was about. But like again, back to 21, I find that book. I said, you know what, that teacher was cool. I'm gonna read that book. So I read that book. It was about Buddha. It was about me. I mean, he was going on a journey, and he found himself underneath the tree, man. I'm like, that's me, right? So that's when I started actually appreciating reading. You know, I don't even know how I learned how to read. I mean, I can read pretty well, right? And it's the same with school. I just took myself in the study hall and would just get A's and B's and stuff that I liked. You know, I used to get A's in like PE, but then if I didn't go, I'm gonna get an F, right? But advanced reading, impromptu speech, all those things, I'm getting A's. Biology, I'm getting A's, and I don't even know how. And I only got GED. And the stuff that like martial arts, the learning and everything like that, it's because we've already been here.
Yeah.
I mean, this rodeo, it's eternal life, you know. So I just find it amazing. Also, as I walk my journey, that opens up within myself to be able to see these things. You know, certain veils coming off, so you can understand yourself and be able to rise into your higher self and continue to rise, because it's only going to expand even more and more each and every day.
Yeah. No, I totally agree, man. School was always for me because I've been reading since I was like 4 years old, 3 or 4. I used to always read. And then, the anger um, that I used to have too growing up, feeling like, not having a dad and then trying to, deal with black male figures. And then it wasn't until a point where I actually understood who I was as a black man. And it allowed me to better serve myself because I didn't know how to serve myself. I didn't have an identity. I was trying to fight. I had a lot of anger. And, that's one of the reasons why when I did get out and I wanted to start giving back, I wanted to create these platforms to share with other young men because they throw their life away. A lot of young men, they're angry. They're frustrated. They don't have any mentors. They don't have big brothers. They don't have anybody to kind of reflect off of. So that's why I felt it was important to have, people like you come on a platform. I've had other people come on to share different life journeys, and you never know who it's going to touch, man. You could change somebody's
It's
life, and
kind of
that's the whole point.
my bad. What we were talking about is like, eagles fly with eagles, seagulls fly with seagulls. But one of the biggest challenges I have would looking back at my past and trying to help somebody from the past, not anybody I know, but just people that are in that mindset, is that they get with you and they light right up because you're the flame, you're the fire, right? And then you download all this information just to let them know, man, you got to change your mind, you got to change your pattern, you got to change your friends, you got to change everything,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
And they have a girlfriend and they got kids and they go right back into that mindset, and it's like, man, didn't you just hear me? Right?
Yeah.
So I mean, it's a fine line because you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink. And I used to like that saying, but now I'm like, you know what? Why even lead them to the water other than just be the example by walking with other people that are drinking water?
Yeah, yeah,
You know what I mean? Because that's the true way to affect change, is just be change. You know what I mean? The
yeah.
people that are supposed to be they will come. You know what I mean? Rather than trying to help every single person out along the way. You know what
Well,
I mean? Because the person that's
it's kind of like what me and you
wants,
talked about before when you said, uh, how do the how do we help these people? Well, they will find you for help who really want to help because we can't help anybody who's not trying to help themselves, man. You know,
it was the same in our little group that we had. You know what I mean? We that was exposed. You know what I mean? I wanted to help myself. I'm looking to you like, hey man, I don't want you doing everything for me. I know how to type. Show me how to do this stuff,
Yeah.
right? So I started, right, rather than just riding your coattails and have you type up every petition for me and just not know what they mean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So same thing whether it's martial arts or whether you're learning how to paint, ride a bike, whatever you're doing, you're going to find the students because the students are going to find you. Because they're hungry for it. I mean, they're really hungry for it because like the saying, you got a hunger and thirst after righteousness, and you shall be filled. But if you ain't hungry and thirsty after doing something, you're having a right mind, you ain't gonna be filled with your bullshit you've been doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And you know, the fact that in there we were stuck. There were people in there we knew that were demons, and we had to see them every day. You know, you couldn't just. It's not like on the street. Like if I don't like somebody, I don't have to go to that store anymore, or I don't have to live in this neighborhood. I don't have to live in a certain area in California, Arizona, Texas. I can move, but in prison you can't move. You're stuck until they move you. You know.
Yeah, I learned some valuable lessons on my state trip because I mean, first of all, I had to learn how to say no because I was hanging out with the natives, right? And then be asking for coffee. This one guy, Day Day, he'd always be asking for coffee. I'm like, oh yeah, here. But after a while, you don't want to give him coffee because he's making his rounds, right? So I just learned how to say no to him. But then, like, I might that same night, hey, I got extra burritos. Hey, you want a burrito, Day Day? Because he's just like up on the upper bunk, right? Yeah, right. But at least I'm saying no, right? But I had to learn when I went in for 8 years flat, right? On the second one, I mean, I got my ID card on April Fool's Day, and the Spirit told me, "You're the fool. Let the fool become a fool, therefore he can become wise." I mean, you got to admit you're a fool to start with, right?
Yeah.
So then you're going to work on expectations and judgment. That was your mistake for why you're here, right? I didn't get that lesson until the end, like last 2 years, or I think it was last year that I was in there. There was a native guy that when I first got out to Warner Creek, I mean, I befriended him because I've always had native friends, and I'll be like, "Hey, brother, whatever I have, you can have." As a matter of fact, I just put stuff on his bunk so he wouldn't even have to ask me. I realized this guy's kind of selfish. I mean, he's a good dude. He's really kind of selfish. And at the end of it, I stopped talking to him for like 2 months. Walk right by him. I don't got a problem doing that with people, right?
Yeah.
At least in there, right? And finally, I had a mediator, another native, sit down at the table with me. And this is another time I heard the Father speak with me. I was like, "Hey, man, you're the most selfish person I ever met, man. I've given you this, that, and the other." And he said, "You didn't give me anything." And I heard the Father say, "I didn't because I had an expectation behind what I was giving you. That's not true giving, right? Whether it's to get in with the natives or have respect or anything, I wanted something in return, right? So wretched are the result seekers. So that was my lesson after 7 years of going in there, learning the first thing about expectation. I expected something, right? Therefore, therefore, I was getting angry, right? But to what you were saying about being strong, you have to be strong. I mean, all that happened to me young. Everything we went through made me strong enough. Like, you know how it is in there. Like I don't know if you hung out with natives, but you shake each other up. I said I ain't shaking nobody up, man. You know what I mean? I don't got nothing against them, but why would I shake you up if like you were in a sweat one day, we share food, and the next day you just walk by me, don't even say hi.
Yeah.
I ain't shaking you up. I don't know you, right? It's not that I don't like you. It's just like, what's the point of that? It's fake. You know what I mean? So I just stopped shaking anybody up. You know what I mean? Even people work it out. I work out solo, right? And they say, "Hey, can we work?" Yeah, you can work out with me, but I'm not working out with you. I'm out showing while we're there, but you know what I mean? I'm just on my own time.
Yeah.
Because I know they're not going to be up. You know what I mean? If they can, they'll be there every day just because they want to be there. But you know what I'm saying? So
well, it's kind of like
it's road, put it that way, because you're going to have to cut a lot of things off that maybe your friends say that, hey, because everybody else is doing it. You know what I mean? I'm not a follower in that aspect, but I had to follow a lot of good wisdom in order to be able to lead, right? But you got to be able to be discerning what you're actually following.
Well, to put an exclamation mark behind that is even now, I mean, dude, I think about it. There's only a handful of people that I did time with that I even talked to. And then even people like, that I knew in my past that I talked to, because a lot of people, they expect, oh man, I remember you back in the day, dude. That's not me. I'm not that same back in the day, dude. You have a locked in vision or mental, uh, frame that you want to put me in, and I'm way beyond that now. And then too, we've always had a connection, but every time we talk to each other, we have growth, and we share a lot of the same philosophical views, life views, and we have another mutual friend that we do this with. But you know, people on the street, man, that haven't really been through stuff, they don't have that loyalty factor. And then sometimes when it comes to like really just wanting to see somebody win. You got a lot of people out here who act like they want to see you win, but they really are around to keep you from winning. And you think they want to see you win. So you got to be careful of those people. So it's hard finding people who generally feel good about your success. Because for me, I'm the type of person, if I see you winning, it inspires me to do better. It inspires me to step my game up. When you're saying, oh man, I just, read this or study this, it makes me want to go pick a book up. And that's the type of people I like to surround myself around, people that inspire me. And, I have conversation with people all the time, and it's so mundane. I'm just like, man, I'd rather not talk to them. Literally, I just, I look at my phone, the phone rings, and I just let it go to voicemail. you know?
And that's like when I first got out and you helped me out. You shot me a little script, right? But it's like I'm the type of person, man. I don't want to talk to you again until I got something to bring to the table. Even if it's just my growth. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's why we're like, even since I got out, you do your thing, I do my thing. We catch up, and then we keep pushing, right? And now we're back doing something with the law that
Yeah.
we're all growing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So we got a lot, that we're actually doing together because everybody's got something on the table, you know. But just watching that growth in people, like you said, is amazing. Because when I don't know, it's when you can lift somebody else up on the outside, you're lifting yourself up, right? Because that is you. Everything
Yeah.
is you.
Yeah.
You know, it don't look that way, but it really is. So I
Yeah.
mean, it's just
Everybody.
like when
No, go ahead. What'd you say?
you go. Oh, I would just say just when you can be happy for somebody else when they're succeeding. You know what I mean? When you're happy for them, if you're not happy for that person, man, it's going to affect you. A whip's going to come down from underneath the undertow of the energy just going out here. The 369 is coming right back this way towards you because you just created that vibration, right? And you may not say it on the outside, but your inner voice, you can't. God's not mocked. Your inner vibration of the infinite spirit you cannot lie to yourself, and it's coming, right? Because you can't lie. So it's
Yeah.
better to be positive and be like, man, that's amazing. Like the other day, a guy called me. He's building a food court and he's getting everything demolished and everything like this. And I've been helping him, just a couple of things. But he said I was working at another job. He's like, hey, can you do time to dig a trench? Right? I said, well, I'm pretty busy, but Sunday I give you some of my time. Well, I called back later that day because I was already at another job. And I said, hey, so what time do you want to do that on Sunday? He goes, oh, I already got somebody. I'm like, that's amazing. Right? I was just happy. I didn't claim that for myself. I was like, because I was already talking to the other person I was talking on a spiritual level. See how I'm prospering? Everywhere I go, man, it's coming at me, right? But he had already got somebody, and it was somebody that he had already worked with, and it was getting done right then when he needed it. Right.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
said, well, that's part of myself doing it. Right. But I was actually happy for him. I was just like, that's amazing, man. The important thing is you getting it done.
That's right.
It's
That's
not
right.
about, what I mean? And that just draws more opportunities to me.
Yeah.
Being
Well, man, shit, man, we've been on here an hour, brother. I wanna make sure we can, save some of this game for the next week. But man, I appreciate you coming on, and I hope people that listen to this can pull something from it as far as some type of inspiration, and just to see the bigger picture, man. Because dude, you always been like a brother to me, and just the conversations we have are conversations that are always stimulating, and so it's like it puts like a certain standard on a conversation. So when I talk to other people, I'm like, oh man, let me cut this shit short, keep it pushing because it's like, it doesn't really inspire me, man. But I always feel inspired when we talk. You always got a lot of game, wisdom, and I'm gonna definitely bring you back on the channel, bro, and have you share
Yeah.
with some of my fans.
Well, I thank you. I'm honored to be on your channel and work with you on this. So it's a real pleasure. Thank you.
All right, man. And hey, to everybody out there, Happy New Year. Big Herc 916 and Brother Wayne.
Officially, I only got one real spanking my entire life. My mom did the best a 14-year-old could do, raising me with love and instilling values that will last a lifetime. I was a straight A student and lived to make her happy. So how did I go astray? A horrible stepdad that stole my self-worth and invoked fear turned me into a person that I struggled to overcome. From skateboarding to selling drugs, gang banging in juvenile hall, I got caught the same way many young promising men get caught up. I struggled to find my identity, getting mixed up in shootouts, crime, and the adult entertainment industry. This roller coaster continued as I juggled college, hustling, and Hollywood, eventually catching a federal bank robbery case. I found redemption in prison while serving a 120-month federal sentence and came out a man on a mission. I became a social media influencer with over 500 million views on YouTube and a life coach mentoring people all over the world. This is my journey against all odds.
Lockdown's over. Get your yard time in. Exclusively at FreshOutSeries.com.